She knew now what she had to expect, where to go, and what to do. Get the books she must. When she got them, she would show those city girls and boys how to prepare and recite lessons, how to walk with a brave heart, and they could show her how to wear pretty clothes and have good times. It's the last day of March and it's feeling extremely spring-like here. And springtime to me has now become like the season of button-down shirts. I hope in the summertime, I can't remember last summertime, like was it too hot to wear these? Like one summer peaked. I love wearing them. They make me so happy. And I wanted to take a moment before I give you a reading update to talk about some lipsticks. I don't really do this, but you see in videos, like main channel videos, I wear lipstick in pretty much every video because I love lipstick. So first, a very fun frosty pink is Airy Fairy. And this is Rimmel London. You can tell I am not a beauty channel, but a really beautiful frosty pink. And I think that springtime, I just wear all varieties of pink. And then I love this. What company is this? I think this is CoverGirl. No, it's Maybelline. Secret Blush. And this is just this really lush kind of pink. And it just comes on so beautifully. But that's not the one that I want to wear today because I found out sometimes I like combining colors. And I like to first put on this. It's another Maybelline, it's Romantic Rose, and this is the best nude pink lipstick I have ever found. And I don't really spend a lot on makeup, so I always buy like, you know, kind of Target and like pharmacy kind of amount makeup. But I always wanted one like in Breakfast at Tiffany's when Audrey Hepburn, stirring my tea around, I want to get the honey spread out. When Audrey Hepburn puts on, she like grabs it out of her mailbox and she puts it on. So I'm going to put on Romantic Rose is the name of the shade in case I didn't say that. So it doesn't show up. I mean, you can sort of tell. It's very subtle. But I love what a true like nude pink it is. Because a lot of them are either, they look a little brown on me or they look a little too bright. But then I like to do like a muted hot pink. And so this is Smashbox and it is Punch Drunk. And this is a matte lipstick. And so I love to put this on top. So like I said, I love what a like muted hot pink then it is. Oh, makes me so happy. So yes, I'm a big lipstick fan. Yes, and I wanted to show you kind of the crafting that I have been getting up to. I go through seasons where like I won't do much crafting and I'm really bored with Panda Pop. It's an app I do on my phone when I'm listening to audiobooks, but I've done so much recently. I'm getting pretty bored with it. But I got held up in this project. I'm behind on baby gifts for friends that have had babies. Now my friend's baby Rosa is over a year old, and so she'll be getting this when I see her at my friend, when I see her at Literary Parlor in goodness, in May. That's what it is. So I'm working on a name bunting. So the R was no problem. The O was very easy. The S was, I just kept getting stuck. I am so proud of this S. And I started going to a local knitting group, which has been really fun. And the person, the knitter there who I was showing this to, she's like, just make it like a 5, kind of, you know, visualize it being like a 5. And that really helped me. So I think probably 7 tries on this, and it just kept looking not at all like an S and just lumpy, and I'm extremely proud of this. And then the A was not that hard. So there's the A. I always kind of wish there could be a little bit bigger in that spot, but it's extremely obvious that it's an A. So I'm happy with that. So when I make a name bunting, I like for there always to be a back on each flag so they're nice and sturdy. So what I'm gonna do now is bind in, weave in all these ends, and then I will sew them together so they're nice and thick, and then I will do an applied I-cord using this scarlet color. So I'm really excited because I think maybe she even thinks I've just completely forgotten about the project, but I haven't, and yeah, I'm really excited to be making things again. I'm also lately have been loving peppermint tea. So I'm having this beautiful mug. My beautiful friend Kate from the channel The Novel Nomad sent this to me a couple years ago. She also sent me this book mug. Maybe it's been in a couple of videos. It's my favorite mug, but I also love this one. And peppermint tea with a little bit of honey has just been delightful. And then the other project I'll be doing is making, let me put this up. That's our winter paper chain. It's got like a shimmery silver on it and a couple shades of blue. And I'm going to be doing a pastel one. So there's this pastel pink, pastel blue, a light yellow, and then a light green. All of these, I think, will just make it look a lot more cheerful. And I wanted to have it up, you know, for the first day of spring, but oh well. Okay, now I wanted to check in because I'm 100 pages into A Girl of the Limberlost. I had forgotten how low-key this book starts out, so it is a bit underwhelming when you first start it. And I always go into rereads with trepidation because if a reread doesn't live up to your expectations, it feels a bit like the death of a friend. And I am happy to say, though, that I remembered the highlight for me the last time I read this book was the character of Elnora. And what a beautiful beacon she is in this. And I love her strong spirit. And she just has a lot going against her. And her mother is such a difficult person. And you just really feel for her. So I do really, really appreciate how her character shines through this. The writing is a bit on the plainer side. There are some beautiful turns of phrase, things like that. And just to see the sheer delight she takes in just getting to go to school is really beautiful. And then I just really, she's not this plain Jane kind of character. And so I really, really love that. And one quote that I love too, and you know, she really just takes she has a sense of awe and wonderment about the natural world. And she has this beautiful straw hat with some peacock quills in it. And a couple of the more well-to-do girls in the class are like, where is this hat from? I need these peacock quills. So Elnora tells her, oh, you know, it's from this peacock that like they were picked. They weren't made in a factory. And Sadie Reed laughed shortly. You needn't trouble, she said. I was fooled. I thought they were expensive quills. I wanted them for a $20 velvet toque to match my new suit. If they are picked off the ground, really, I couldn't use them. Only in spots, said Elnora. They don't just cover the earth. Phoebe Sims's peacocks are the only ones within miles of Onabasha, and they molt but once a year. If your hat only costs $20, it's hardly good enough for those quills. You see, the Almighty made and colored those himself. And he puts the same kind on Phoebe Sims's peacocks that he put on the head of the family in the forests of Ceylon, away back in the beginning. Any old manufactured quill from New York or Chicago will do for your little $20 hat. You ought to have something infinitely better than that to be worthy of quills that are made by the creator. So I really do love the self-respect that she has in a life that she's not been praised a lot. She's not fawned over, especially by her mother, who she has a really tumultuous relationship with. I love the amount of self-respect that Elnora has for herself. So a quarter through, I am enjoying it, and I'm remembering later on my enjoyment continues more and more. It increases as the book goes on. Yeah, so looking forward to continuing on with this beautiful book. checking in with the next 100 pages of A Girl of the Limberlost, and I'm still really enjoying it. It is very plain Jane kind of writing, but then there are just these pieces of brilliance that really glimmer and shine throughout, and just make those, you know, lyrical descriptive passages, it makes me treasure them all the more. I really do love the character of Elnora and how driven she is, with broadening her mind and becoming cultured. And that's just something that I really appreciate about her as a character. Her mother is a very, I think I'll be curious in the Kindred Spirits Club discussion what people think, because she's a very intense character and full of pain and regret for what has happened in her past, where Elnora's father drowned and she has just never recovered. I mean, I don't know how much you could recover from a significant other drowning, but recovering enough to kind of see the beauty that is around you, and kind of just move on as much as you can. I don't want to belittle what she's been through. And I really love that Elnora really wasn't told many details about her father, so when her aunt finally tells her what happened, she's filled with a lot of empathy and compassion for her mother. She is a really selfless character in that she's not so concerned with the pain that she has had being raised by a mother who is just not available emotionally, but is really concerned for the ways that she can brighten her mother's life and not make things harder for her when her mother has experienced a lot of pain from losing the love of her life. And there were some points that were really uncomfortable in this, or rather one chapter where you meet the character of Billy and his cruelty to animals. And he doesn't seem like a cruel kid. That's why I find it weird that he takes part in that, because he doesn't seem, he's not a malicious kid. And so I guess part of his character is it's that he doesn't even realize what he's doing is hurting them. I think some people have a hard time kind of, I don't know, viewing animals as creatures that can experience pain. And I don't know. So it's kind of a puzzle to me. And my only theory is that he doesn't realize that what he's doing is really harmful to the animals that he's hurting. I do like that he doesn't seem to want to participate in doing things like that anymore once he's told not to do it. I do wish we got a little bit more detail about him. The details that we get about him are kind of sparse, as far as knowing how he changes. We just know that he changes. We don't really get in his head that much. And Elnora and Mrs. Comstock are the main characters whose kind of psyche we really delve into. And the other thing that is a bit of a shame is that it really fast forwards through Elnora's high school career, which I really love the passages when she's getting to be with her peers and just kind of be a kid. That's when I really enjoy it. So a couple passages I did note down. I have been nervous to read this edition. It's over, 100 years old, but I've been trying to be gentle with it, and just reading at the table, not taking it in a bag anywhere. I just read it at home. But Elnora eventually finds a violin, and she finds her father's violin. So it's very interesting. It seems that she has this innate connection to her father, even though she's never met him. And I have such a hard time picturing what that would be like, never having met your parent, but still feeling this connection to them. And I do believe it can happen. It's just something that's so outside of my experience. I grew up knowing both my parents. I still know both my parents. So it's a really interesting concept to me to be in a story. And I love that how just the violin awakens something really special in her. And one of the phrases that I love says, her happy heart sang in those days. When she played her own, that was joy inexpressible. For then the wind blew, the water rippled, the Limberlost sang her songs of sunshine, shadow, black storm, and white night. Like I said, very plain Jane writing, except for these few passages that just are beacons of beauty. And then she is able to play for her class. She's able to play the violin and just blow everyone away. It says, then the curtains were swept aside swiftly. The stage had been transformed into a lovely little corner of creation where trees and flowers grew and moss carpeted the earth. A soft wind blew, and it was the gray of dawn. Suddenly a robin began to sing. Then a song sparrow joined him, and then several orioles began talking at once. The light grew stronger. The dewdrops trembled. Flower perfume began to creep out to the audience. The air moved the branches gently, and a rooster crowed. Then all the scene was shaken with a babble of bird notes in which you could hear a cardinal whistling and a blue finch piping. Back somewhere among the high branches, a dove cooed, and then a horse neighed shrilly. That set a blackbird crying, and a whole flock answered it. The crows began to caw, and the lamb bleated. Then the grosbeaks, chats, and vireos had something to say. The sun rose higher, and the light grew stronger, and the breeze rustled the treetops loudly. A cow bawled, and the whole barnyard answered. The guineas were clucking, the turkey gobbler strutting, the hens calling, the chickens cheeping. The light streamed down straight overhead, and the bees began to hum. The air stirred strongly, and off in an unseen field a reaper clacked and rattled through ripening wheat while the driver whistled. An uneasy mare whickered to her colt. The colt answered, and the light began to decline. Miles away a rooster crowed for twilight, and dusk was coming down. The air was tremulous with heavenly notes. The lights went out in the hall. Dusk swept across the stage. A cricket sang, and a katydid answered, and a wood pewee wrung the heart with its lonesome cry. Then a nighthawk screamed, and a whippoorwill complained. A belated killdeer swept the sky, and the night wind sang a louder song. In her shower of bright hair, a few green leaves and white blossoms, in the center of the stage, piece by piece, the grasses, mosses, and leaves dropped from an embankment. The foliage softly blew away, while plainer and plainer came the outlines of a lovely girl figure, draped in soft, clinging green. In her shower of bright hair, a few green leaves and white blossoms clung, and they fell over her robe down to her feet. Her white throat and arms were bare. She leaned forward a little and swayed with the melody, her eyes fast on the clouds above her, her lips parted, a pink tinge of exercise in her cheeks as she drew her bow. She played as only a peculiar chain of circumstances puts it in the power of a very few to play. All nature had grown still. The violin sobbed, sang, danced, and quavered on alone. No voice in particular, just the soul of the melody of all nature combined in one great outpouring. How lovely and delightful is that? And one thing that's interesting to me is Elnora does collect specimens. She collects moths and she collects cocoons so that then when the moths hatch, she can have them. And it portrays it very positively, you know, her taking these things and killing them before their time. But then when they're, but because it's for her own kind of noble gain, it's portrayed positively. But then when there are people who are logging and just doing it like selfishly, you know, industry, then it's portrayed very negatively. And I know that Gene Stratton Porter was very concerned environmentally. And I just find that an interesting narrative. So I'll be curious to keep following that and see how it's continued to portray throughout it.
The swamp is almost ruined now, she said. The maples, walnuts, and cherries are all gone. The talking trees are the only things left worthwhile. The talking trees? I don't understand, commented Ammon. No wonder, laughed Elnora. They are my discovery. You know all trees whisper and talk during the summer, but there are two that have so much to say they keep on the whole winter, when the others are silent. The beeches and oaks so love to talk, they cling to their dead, dry leaves. In the winter, the winds are stiffest and blow most, so these trees whisper, chatter, sob, laugh, and at times roar until the sound is deafening. They never cease until new leaves come out in the spring to push off the old ones. I love to stand beneath them, with my ear to the great trunks, interpreting what they say to fit my moods. The beeches branch low, and their leaves are small, so they only know common earthly things. But the oaks run straight above almost all other trees before they branch. Their arms are mighty, their leaves large. They meet the winds that travel around the globe, and from them learn the big things. Ammon studied the girl face. What do the beeches tell you, Elnora? He asked gently. To be patient, to be unselfish, to do unto others as I would have them do to me. And the oaks? They say, be true, live a clean life, send your soul up here and let the winds of the world teach it what honor achieves. Wonderful secrets, those, marveled Ammon. Are they telling them now? Could I hear? No, they are only gossiping now. This is playtime. They tell the big secrets to a white world when the music inspires them. The music? All other trees are harps in the winter. Their trunks are the frames, their branches the strings, the winds the musicians. When the air is cold and clear, the world very white, and the harp music swelling, then the talking trees tell the strengthening, uplifting things. You wonderful girl, cried Ammon. What a woman you will be. If I am a woman at all worthwhile, it will be because I have had such wonderful opportunities, said Elnora. Not every girl is driven to the forest to learn what God has to say there. I think I will close things out here. I last week went on a trip to visit my grandmother. She turned 96 years old, and we stayed at my aunt and uncle's house, and it was so nice seeing family and just spending time getting away from things. And they live in this valley, and you can just see beautiful hills in the distance, and it was just a really kind of idyllic location. I always love visiting their house. But unfortunately, I really paid for that trip. I got back and I had 6 atrocious fatigue days in a row. So I really didn't read this much last week. And then on Tuesday, I was so compelled to pick it up, and I read like 150 pages in one day. So really at the end, I kind of just built momentum. But if I'm remembering correctly, the last time that I read this, that is what happened. The last 100 pages or so, or maybe more, a little bit more, like 150, are really my favorite of the book. And I had forgotten that my enjoyment of the book is kind of at 3 stars. And then the last, 150 pages, it goes up to 5 stars, which usually does not happen with a book. It'll maybe go up to 4 stars if it's going to go up. But I really love the second half of this. And particularly when Elnora is having the conversation with Edith Carr, who is the fiance of Philip. And Philip, the romantic interest, we don't meet him until really late into the book. But the conversation between Elnora and Edith Carr, Philip's fiance, is so like Lady Catherine de Bourgh and Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. It really so strongly resembled it, and down to when Elizabeth Bennet says, you have insulted my family in every way possible. I'm totally paraphrasing. I know that's not the exact quote, but Elnora really says something so very similar to that. And also in this second half of the book is where we really get to see Elnora's mother change. And the catalyst for her changing, I'm trying to keep this video spoiler free, it does make me really upset that that's what she decides will change her. She shouldn't have been treating her daughter the way that she had, regardless of anything to do with what had happened in the past. But even though the reasons that she does change, it really frustrates me about her. Getting to see her finally have this fulfilling and just kind of generous and sweet relationship with her daughter is really moving to me. And I love how Elnora just soaks up her love at the very end. I love the character of Elnora. To me, I just think she's so resilient in adverse circumstances. And so I just want to be like her. And getting to see her really blossom and getting to utilize the abilities and gifts that she has been given and use those for good and making the world a better place is just so moving. And I really love that her deep, deep connection to the land ends up really changing other lives and making people's lives around her better. So I really enjoy this book. I think I'm nervous to attend the Kindred Spirits book club meeting this weekend because I don't think it's been universally loved. And it will, it makes you a little sad when people don't love what you love. But I don't expect everyone to have the exact same reaction to me as a book. So I love this book. I know it's not for everyone, but just something about it. It's not stunning
writing in most parts, but something about it is just special and captivating to me. It's an odd and unusual book. It is unusual. It is very different from any other book that I've read, but I do think it does have some commonalities with Ellen Montgomery, maybe. And yeah, so I love this book, even if it does have flaws, even if the mother, her character is kind of exaggerated. I just still love it. So it's been a delight, a sheer delight to reread this book. And yes, even if it is an unusual reading experience and that it's just kind of steadily at 3 stars, I love how then the second half is just like, oh my goodness. I'm just loving every single thing that's happening here. And I hope that you enjoyed it if you did read it. And thank you for spending some time with me and hearing my thoughts on A Girl of the Limberlost.